Hello, 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 everybody, and welcome back to the fourth and probably final week of the Jim Henson movie marathon. My name is Matt, and I have 2 degrees, and today we are talking about the legendary, the classic, the David Bowie showcase piece, Jim Henson's Labyrinth. There are no Muppets, but there are very few instances in my daily life where I get to wear this shirt, so it's here for one more week. Same with the hat. I'm so excited to talk about Labyrinth. This is a movie that came out in the late 80s, 1986. It was after Dark Crystal. It kind of employed the same super high concept fantasy-esque puppetry designs, but they did what I wanted to see in Dark Crystal, and they threw a human into the mix. Not just one human, 2 humans. One of those humans is David Bowie, so he's worth at least an extra human. So 3 people's worth, alongside a bunch of really beautiful, intricate puppets. Now, unlike most people, I did not grow up with this movie, so I feel like I might have a different take on it. Who knows? But I do thoroughly enjoy the film. I'm excited to talk about it with all of our friends this evening. Before I bring them in, let's see who we have in the chat. Looks like we have the classics. We have my cats watching. We have Eliza speaking through my mom's account. Yeah, Eliza doesn't know anything about this movie. She kind of watched it. She kind of paid attention, but she's watching our show now, so that's good. What does Sabrina have to say? Sabrina didn't like this movie. It would probably scare her. It would scare her. And Martha says she didn't know David Bowie was in this movie. He put out great albums back in the day. He sure did. And he also put out a great song about dancing to magic, which is featured in this film. So speaking of magic, let's bring in our first guest. You know her. You love her. It's Jeanette, everybody.
I was dancing the bat in my head when you went dance, magic, dance. Sorry. So that was an anthem of me and my friends, because we all grew up with it, and we would just say it randomly when we were around people who didn't know. It'd be like, you remind me of the Babe, and then one of us would go, what Babe? And then the other one would go, what, the Babe with power?
Power.
The power of voodoo.
I'm so jealous you grew up with this movie. I didn't know this movie existed until I was probably 17 or 18. Yeah, and I only discovered it because I was just one day going through, I don't know, a puppetry phase. There was a point in my life when I thought I wanted to be a puppeteer, and so I was diving deep into puppetry artists on the internet, and Jim obviously was there, and I saw that this movie was a thing that existed. So I went to Blockbuster / it would have been Rogers Video, actually. It's a Canadian thing. Don't worry, they're gone too. And I rented it one Friday evening and thought, okay, what am I watching? What is this? Am I too old for this now? I might.
Well, there was a period of time, I think, where it looked, we'll get into it. It looked different. Now it looks good. Things do this sometimes.
Yeah. So, opening question for today. At what point in the Labyrinth would you die? I know when I would die.
Oh, gosh. Probably when they went hurtling into the bog of eternal stench, because I just would have immediately gone and then I wouldn't have grabbed anything, and we would have fallen in, and that would have been it. So.
Now, you may have further than me. I would die at the 2 doors, one to the castle, one to certain death. I paused the movie for probably 15 minutes to try to figure out the logic, and I kind of grasped it, but I couldn't. I thought
the whole point is you have to let it go. That's the whole point, because I had to let it go.
There was a point in my life when I understood the logic, and I had the same moment that what's her face, Jennifer Sarah, has in the movie when she's like, oh wait, I never understood it, but now I do. And that aha moment was so satisfying, but it's gone now, sadly. Yeah. Oh, we have some new friends. Rick Smith 95555. You saw it in a theater. I feel like this would be great to see in a theater. The Hydes are here. Mike, Amanda, and friends.
I do envy anyone that's seen this in a theater. It is either coming or has come to a theater recently. Yeah,
I feel like they do those throwback screenings. At least here in Canada, we get Labyrinth throwback screenings. At least I'd say once a year from the big cinema chain. Yeah, I've just never.
Yeah, no, there's plenty. I'm never aware of them until they're right upon us, and I'm like, well, I'm working, so
exactly. Or I don't have the energy to go places or do things. Yeah. Speaking of, well, I have no segue. Let's bring in our next guest, everybody. It's Sam.
Hello. Speaking of, I have no segue.
Sam likes movies.
Behavior.
I'm so happy to have you back, Sam.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So good to have you. So good. What was the last show you were here for? Was it Mrs. Doubtfire?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, Robin month.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's a while ago.
It's been a minute.
It has. So what have you been up to creatively, personally? Like what shall the internet know for those who've missed you?
So I got married in October. Hooray,
Woo!
hooray. That was fun. That was taking up, thank you. It was taking up a lot of my time. Wedding planning is famously non-stressful. I'm sure you all know that. And then I did a career change. So I'm no longer a funeral director. And now a teacher's assistant. I work in the English learners department. I work with children who are learning. Some are learning to speak English. Some are learning to better use English. I love it. And creatively, I am further pursuing ice skating. So I've been doing that for like 3 years. Yeah, I'm getting more like serious now. So yeah, those are the things that I'm working on in my life.
Have you considered a routine to magic dance from this movie?
Matt, no, honestly. No. And my coach wants me to he's like, pick a song for your next program. That might be it. Like that might be it.
So.
I think we've just cracked the case. Thanks, guys.
You did. Yes. Well, we can finish now. No. There. I'm so good to have you back. Teddy Curtis says hello. There we go.
Hi, Teddy.
Woo. All right. So same question for you, Sam. At what point in the labyrinth would you die? Unless you
I'm gonna have to agree with Jeanette on the bog of eternal stench. Because like despite my history as a funeral director, like bad smells are not my thing. So I think I would just throw in the towel and just like let it all consume me. Or I would aspirate on my own vomit. Like
yeah, right. Just either way.
Do it. Let's just jump back into the comments. Martha saying hello to the Hides. Woot. Mike. Oh yes, and Maddie. There's a new family friend, or not even family friend, new family member in the Highland Adventures. Hello, Maddie. Welcome. Maddie, is this your first time watching the channel? I know you're too young to actually speak or communicate, but is it? Let us know. Happy to have you. All right, so we should have a few more guests joining us in just a little bit, but let's dive into the Labyrinth. I feel like both of you have a childhood connection with this movie that I, as I kind of touched on, do not have. So I'd love to hear those stories from both of you about whether you remember when you first encountered this movie, and if not, just like the place it holds in your collective nostalgic pasts. Sam, why don't you go first?
Okay, sweet. So like I remember it. Like my stepdad was like, "Oh, I found this like tape, like the Labyrinth. Have you heard of it?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "You've never heard of the Labyrinth?" And he's like, "We got to watch it." So I remember watching it, and like, so as I said before, like this movie was like my bisexual awakening because, you know, when you're a child, gender is so binary, right? So I saw David Bowie and I was like, oh, makeup and beautiful hair, woman. Like, but what is that in their pants? Like, I was very confused because I was having feelings for this person. And obviously, like, Dance Magic Dance, like, very iconic, like, energy shifting moment in my mind. And then I remember I went to summer camp a couple years after that. And they were like, oh, we're going to watch The Labyrinth. It's raining. And like me and my friend who I grew up with were so excited. And everyone else was like, I hate this movie. This movie is so terrible. And I was like, you guys don't have taste. So I've always had a soft spot for this movie. It's like a comfort movie. You know, when I'm homesick, I like to watch it. So it's just it's a good movie. I love it so much.
Love that. I wish I got to watch it as a kid. Again, I had no idea this movie existed. No idea.
That's unfortunate.
I know it is. Well, yeah, like as a teenager, it was fine. And I feel the same way about it now that I did then. But I love that. I love that there is so much to love about this movie. Yes. Jeanette, what's your story?
So I don't really recall the first time. I just know that I knew of it, and I know who David Bowie was. I know that I had seen it as a child. It was not important to me until I was a preteen. And then it became important because my friends and I knew about it and other people did not. And as people who were not conventionally cool, whatever that meant then, I don't know that there really is that now. I think that's pretty cool that that's not going on. But like we were, you know, so like that was the thing that was like one of the things, you know, many things that we were like, hey, we know about this thing that y'all don't. And so again, like I said off air, like we were at the beginning, we would say like, you know, we would quote things from the movie when people were like, what are you talking about? You know? And so there was that. And then as you get older, you're like, oh, this was a Henson thing. And you become aware of that. And like in my teens, I was like, oh, this is a Bowie thing, and like that was a thing, you know. So like every generation of my life, I found something else to attach myself to, and I think at this point, it is the Henson aspect and the artistic aspect of it. We'll get into later. I found upon this rewatch that I don't know that the story is like super strong.
Oh yeah,
here.
that's my thing. We'll get there.
I don't know that the through line is there, but the beautifulness of it is there.
Yeah, seeing this and Dark Crystal last week, it just like I said last week, I want to go back and just binge watch The Storyteller, because I feel that The Storyteller really was where everything that was maybe experimented with in those movies just like flourished and did so well. I also think having the narrator element adds a big, I don't know, I think it helps with the whole puppet world, but we'll see. Apparently also, I'm guessing this was Amanda. Amanda's thing was doing an entire reenactment of Renton in her friend's basement. I've been there.
Yeah, there's I'm sure we all have lists of the weird things that we did with our friends that everybody else was like, what in the world are you doing?
Exactly. That's it. Let's bring in Lisa. Lisa, I feel like you could relate to the Rent thing. I saw you.
100%. That was part of my bisexual awakening. Rent? For sure. Yes. Hi everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Lisa.
Welcome to Labyrinth Week, Lisa. So, Lisa, the opening question that I had for everyone was, at what point in the Labyrinth do you think you would die? Or would you make it to the end?
Oh, interesting. Like if I was like Jennifer Connelly's character.
If you went through all the same things that she did.
I think the Sphincter Pond would be where I died. You know, the
bog. Yeah, the bog. That's what we all said. The bog of eternal stench.
The bog. Yeah, the bog of eternal stench.
Yep.
I call it the Sphincter Pond because of like the disgusting like farts that were coming out of the bog.
Multitude of reasons. Sam said she might choke on her own vomit. I was like, I'd be selectively covering my nose and would not catch the chute like they did on their way out. Like we all have a different reason.
I feel like I would fall in and then like just die of like disgust.
Oh, so, I can see that.
Yes, yeah.
Good.
I like that you were polite and called it the sphincter bog and not like the butthole bog, which is what I would have said.
Hey, those were some of the most realistic, like wet fart noises I've ever heard made in a movie.
Oh my God.
I wonder what the Foley was like. Did they actually have people swear? That's the
dude, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, how did they get this?
And I wouldn't put it past Jim after having watched that documentary.
Yeah,
his Foleys are ridiculous.
Alternative filmmaker mind. I'm like, that's authenticity. I can see it.
Yeah.
See it. Yeah. Oh, and we have our next guest. Everyone, welcome the legend Vince.
Hey, team. How's it going?
Hi, Vince.
Well, Vince, good to have you. Good to have you. Vince, have you been following along? Do you know what our opening question is for today?
Yes. And my answer is not the smelly bog of despair.
Is it my answer?
I forget what your answer is. I might not have heard it, but as a plumber, I think I could survive the bad smell.
You definitely could.
I think I could live with it.
Yeah.
But I think the robot would have got me.
The robot.
Oh, the thing coming down the hallway?
Yeah. That thing would have took me out. No doubt about it.
Wait, I don't remember the robot.
The thing in the mine. That's like
when the
yes.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the robot that's shooting the things that the stone falls on, but you're talking about the rotator one in the mine.
No, I'm talking about the one that was like there was a puppet in there that was using it as an Iron Man suit, a steampunk Iron Man suit.
It was pretty cool. Oh, there's that one. No, that one. There's another one that comes out of the door, and he's like, huh.
Oh,
yeah, that guy.
No, I could have took the door guy, no doubt about that.
Okay, you're talking about the big round thing.
The big round thing.
Yeah.
Big round thing.
Oh, I had a name.
It did. It was the cleaner. The cleaner.
The cleaner. That's it.
Literally what it's the cleaner. Yeah.
I don't remember this.
I love hearing everyone describing just isolated moments from this acid trip of a film.
Because you know it's all just Jim has an idea for a puppet, and they're like, let's build a scene around this puppet.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Oh, so good. So Lisa and Vince, had either of you seen this movie before, like the assignment for this week?
So I did not grow up with it, but I did see it like a few months prior to the assignments.
Ooh.
Oh, that's cool. That's understandable, though. You're like 15 years younger than us.
Yeah, I'm 29. I'm 29. So this came out before I was born. I would, like, when did this
I think it came out before we were all born.
86.
86.
Yeah.
I'm born 87, so it was coming out on VHS.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I missed it growing up, and I only knew about it when I went to college, and I was in class with like 30, like late 20, 30-year-olds, and this was their favorite movie, and I just like never bothered watching it. I was never like a big David Bowie fan, and I don't know, but like I love Jennifer Connelly, like outside of the Labyrinth. So the fact that I didn't see this was shocking. But when I did watch it the first time, I watched it with my friend who could recite every single line. Like, I'm not saying like a line here or there. She was reciting
like Lion King it. She could Lion King it.
Yes, she did the whole thing. And it was very fun to watch it with her because of that experience. But it didn't like really like land on me, except like, like cool hero's journey, cool puppets. So it was nice to like revisit it by myself without a super fan. Yes.
I can actually see this movie being more enjoyable watching with a super fan. Like I've found that's the case with Princess Bride, which is a movie I didn't really think resonated with me, but seeing like the passion that certain people have for it, if I watched it with them, I feel maybe it would rub off on me a little bit.
Interesting. Yeah. I don't think I've ever seen Princess Bride like full
front to back.
Yeah.
It's a fun
been
one.
A while.
Oh,
it's a fun one.
We gotta change that.
We got
Ben knows what you're doing this weekend.
Going on the list.
Vince, how about you?
I have a checkered past with this movie.
Oh my!
Because you know what? I watched this on VHS as a child, and now I have an older sister, and there's an age gap between the two of us that mirrors the age gap between Sarah and Toby in the film.
A large age gap.
Yeah. And I think it was one night where she was babysitting me, and she's like, "Oh, let's watch Labyrinth," and she pops it in the old VCR. And we're watching it, and she tells me I'm just a toddler, that if I don't behave, she's gonna get the Goblin King to kidnap me. And in those days, I thought that was a bad thing because you don't know David Bowie. He's some creepy old man.
Of course, I want to be a child of David Bowie.
I mean, he treated the baby well.
Yeah. I want to get into that later, but I just want to say later in life, I watched the movie again and I'm like, oh, this isn't so bad. And just the other day I watched it again and I liked it a lot. So that's my checkered past.
Vince and I had a really fun time watching it, like together without super fans or out to get your sisters.
Mm-hmm.
That's so funny what Vince said about like his sister. So my middle brother, he was very dramatic. And then we had like a little or like a baby brother who was probably like Toby's age. And whenever he would like misbehave or like start crying, my dramatic brother and like so serious would be like, Goblin King, take Zachary away. Like every time. And I'm like, bro, please, like you need to chill.
But also those weren't the right words.
Yeah, they didn't use your right words. Yeah, exactly. It was the right words. Like,
how hard is it to say, I wish the Goblin King would come and take you away right now?
Yeah.
There's too many words in that to get it right.
Yeah.
What babe? The babe with the power.
Babe with the power.
Slap that baby.
Wait.
That's my favorite lyric.
I'm well aware that it was likely a puppet that they were throwing up in the air during that.
Yeah, so if you look at it, much like I said about the horseback riding dummies last week on Dark Crystal, it is the same with the baby. You can tell when they cut between scenes, like what is a dummy and what's not, because it's just like flailing, like it's just haphazardly kind of like, whoa.
Yeah.
And then like there are scenes where you're like, oh, that thing's rigid, which means it's an actual baby because it's like scared.
What got me though is when they to like the person in the Muppet suit or the Goblin suit more or less catching it. I was like, this is still someone in like latex gloves holding an actual child who.
There is that too, yes, where there's actual people with like not hands holding a child, and you're like, okay.
It's
Well,
like
Also,
I once
that
did
pork,
extra
can we
work
talk
on a
about-
medical show, and I had to wheel in a baby on a gurney because they thought I was a legit paramedic. Because some of the extras on that show were real paramedics. Someone miscommunicated. Anyway, that's a fun thing I did. That's my story about handling a baby on set.
They also
Wow.
had to handle snakes in this movie, and I didn't know at what point it was a real snake and not a fake snake. That one I could not tell, and I was very upset because he threw a snake, and that's like an awful thing to do to a snake, and it made me very sad.
What was tripping me out was when they kept switching back and forth between the fake dog and the real dog.
Yeah,
That
It was
so
really
fun.
obvious sometimes.
Magical.
We made a game out of it. Like, that's the real dog. No, that's a puppet. It was great.
Yeah,
We made a drinking game out of it.
I like that.
This movie has prime real estate for drinking games.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, also, fun fact: that baby today is seemingly very successful in like the puppetry world.
No way.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I looked
And
it up.
people say magic isn't real.
Truly an
Exactly.
excellent pipeline.
I think he made a movie about the making of Labyrinth, or I could be wrong. He has done something recently that is involved with Labyrinth, but prior to that, he worked on the Guillermo del Toro Pinocchio as like a puppetry supervisor. Like he does sculpting and stuff. So yeah, it worked out well for little Toby. He's doing well.
Good job, Toby.
Yeah. So I guess for those who have a checkered past with it, a regular past, how do you feel the movie has held up for this recent rewatch?
I mean, I'll go. For me, it held up fine. It was still beautiful, still concise. I think that the only thing I see every time I rewatch something like pre-1990, maybe even 1993, maybe pre-1993, like certain, like you said, we can see clearly when it's a dummy baby and when it's a regular baby, whether that's our adult eyes or whether that's the HD revisite, like they redo everything, they reformat it, they update it, they make it look great. But when you make things look great, sometimes you can see the seams. Occasionally that happens. It didn't happen that much in here. I think it was really just the baby thing and the dog thing. Honestly, you both brought it up. I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, I feel like it's still the same. The only thing I noticed on this rewatch, too, having a critical eye on it, was there's really not like, there's a plot, there's not a story. There's a different, like, there's not a great storyline that you can follow, but there is a plot. There is a very concise plot. So
It suffers from the Alice in Wonderland, like kind of
sure, but without the total. Like Alice can just not make sense, and it's okay. This one, there's like a goal. There's literally like I have to make it through this, and you're like, what? Like occasionally, like mainly, I would point out the scene at the fancy ball. I'm like, wait, hold on. We were very concrete here, and then this went very metaphysical, and then we went very concrete again. I don't know what happened there, but and that on this rewatch, I noticed that. I'd really never thought about it that critically before. I was just enjoying the Labyrinth. So yeah, I would say that was the things I noticed on this rewatch.
Yeah, like I think that's always been my issue with it is the lack of, well, I don't want to say coherent story because there is a story, but like, I don't know. My first impression when I watched it in high school was once she gets into the labyrinth, if I pretend and ignore everything that led us up to this moment, I could just enjoy the movie as like, here's a girl who's in a labyrinth doing stuff. But when I start to try to assess what the motivations are, and like they are kind of alluded to, which I picked up more of on this rewatch as to like the family dynamic, the step parent and whatever. And also I want to talk about that stepmom character, but like that's for later. I realize that it is kind of there subtextually, but I feel like we could use a little bit more exposition. And then the other missing piece I think is I'm not clear on what David Bowie's motivation is, why he wants the baby, what he wants to do with why he's doing anything he's doing. Yeah, that's my big question.
Yeah.
I think this movie, like on a rewatch, like it kind of suffers from the same thing like with Little Mermaid, like where you're watching it, Little Mermaid as a kid and you're like, yeah, that's right. Like, why can't she be a human? Like, I get that. And then you're watching it as a kid, like this movie as a kid, and you're like, yeah, that's bogus. She's got to watch her brother. And then I'm watching this movie as an adult. I'm like, I didn't think they were rude. They were like, we were so worried about you. Where were you? My life is so unfair. Like, what, sis? Like, please. Like,
Yeah.
No, so she
Yeah.
went to a public
Total
park in
agree.
Renaissance
Thank
garb.
you.
Like
What'd you say?
she went to a suburban public park in like Renaissance garb. I mean,
she was a weird theater girl. That's
Nerd.
fine.
She's a little
That's
nerd.
fine.
yeah, I'd be concerned for her safety.
That's fair. Fair.
Well, I mean, it was the 80s. I mean,
That's
yeah, different time.
That's true. Yeah. Lisa, Vince, or I guess neither of you really had the childhood connection, but Sam, anything else about how it holds up for you now?
I still like it. I do like. I always think it's kind of weird. Like again, now as an adult, when people are like, "Oh my gosh, like Sarah and the Goblin King," because I'm like, no,
No.
like,
Like
wrong.
15.
Like, because as a girl, as a kid, you're like, oh my, I wish. And then when you grow up, you're like, oh no, that man is a man.
See, as a kid, I never even got the romantic. Like, I thought it was
Right.
Even then, I was like, "Oh, he is like trying to
Older.
steal her,"
Mm-hmm.
and she is also a child, but she is like a different. She's a pretty
Correct.
girl child and not a baby child.
Yes.
And like, I also at that age thought he was just like. I
Mhm.
love David Bowie, and I thought he was sexy because he was androgynous, and I knew him as David Bowie. But in this film, he was a villain, and I was like, he is kind of weird and creepy.
Mhm.
I like watching it with my friend a few months ago. She put into perspective that to separate the creepiness from what like we are seeing now as like modern viewers is that
Mhm.
like it is her hallucination and maybe she
Right.
is actually like having
It
a crush
is.
on this older person.
She's reading these fantasy novels, and she has his doll, which is very like
and like
anime, sexy on her desk, and like can observe that.
and
Right.
I can relate to that. As like a kid, I did like have crushes on the villain characters in a lot of movies.
We
And a
also
lot
had
of
crushes on 35 and 40-year-old men as young
Yeah.
girls. Like if you are into men at all, like
Yeah.
I will tell you right now, Steve Guttenberg and Jeff Goldblum were like some of my first crushes, and they were fully grown men, and I
screaming.
was like 10.
I mean,
so
mine were like I loved like Maleficent, like I like craved Maleficent.
totally androgynous too, because there's like no
Oh,
hair,
cartoon Maleficent. I was
totally
like, she wasn't that
upswept
young when
eyes,
Nina
like
Movie came out, was she? Okay.
Like no, like I loved the animated version of Maleficent, but yeah, like you're right, like androgynous, but like villain-esque, and like the villainous of it all is like so confident,
Mhm.
and you're just like so taken. But then I'm like, I still can't get over the fact that it's like David Bowie and like 14-year-old Jennifer Connelly. Like
Yeah.
if you ever liked a rock star in tights, you're going to like Jareth. It's okay.
Yeah.
Like
it's okay.
if you ever liked a man in eyeliner and tights, this is kind of just the stereotype of that
Yeah.
type of person. So
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
I get it, and I also totally agree, Sam. Like it's now with our hindsight, we're like, it's a little
We're aware of
strange.
it. We're aware of it.
Well, like I definitely think it plays, like you said, Lisa, as this is like a hallucination of her construction, especially since one of her first lines at the beginning when she's talking to herself in the house, which is either bad acting or bad directing, I'm not sure yet. She mentions the Goblin King is in love with her, and it definitely gives off that vibe of like, here's an infatuated like teenage girl who's fantasizing about like the Goblin King falling in love with her,
Yeah.
and then here it
Yeah.
comes. It's real. So
Yes.
yeah, that actually I was almost comforted by that. It was almost like it contextualized the movie in a way that made it seem less creepy. And also Jarrett's interactions with her from his end didn't seem super inappropriate. He was always just like, here I am, I got the baby, bye.
Mhm.
And there it was. Minus when he said, I'll be your slave if you'll whatever.
He was always telling her to leave, like, go home, I want your brother.
Exactly.
You know, just get out of my labyrinth, stay away from the goblin village. I want to be a father to this neglected child.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Jareth. What's his deal? What am I missing? Why does he want the baby?
He's the Goblin
asked.
King. They turn him into a goblin. That's the
Yeah,
whole
that's-
point. Yeah.
Another
Oh.
minion for him.
But he's so nice to the baby. Like
He's
it's
such a good
seems so
dad.
paternal.
Wait.
He's gonna turn it into a goblin.
Are all the goblins neglected
Ex-baby.
kids?
Yes, they're
I
like
think
the
so.
Lost
That's the
Boys
lore.
of this world. They're the Lost Boys, but in
Oh.
this world. Yes.
Oh no!
I did not get that. I did
Yeah,
not-
they say that at the beginning that all of the stolen children are turned into goblins, and like that's the whole point. He's just making new goblins.
So
But he
he's
says this
evil
one's
Peter
special.
Pan.
He's like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna name it. Yes, he's like, I'm gonna name it Jareth because this one looks like me, and like
Mm-hmm.
probably because it's blonde. I don't know. Like,
Okay, interesting.
So
Maybe.
he's building an army.
he has an army. Yeah,
He has an
Like
army
Gru.
Yeah.
What?
He needs more backup singers. That's
Of-
why.
of melee fighters, and some of them have Iron Man suits. He's really turning into a military power. Is what's going on here?
in his own little world too.
Yeah,
But why? Like, why does he need an army?
Doesn't
to conquer. You know,
What? What does he need
Sam,
to offer?
He already
Sam,
has a
Sam,
labyrinth
tell
in a
me
castle.
if you think the same thing I did growing up watching this. This is all in her head, right? Like this is all happening in her head. This is not a real place somewhere, right?
Mhm.
Like that's the way that I viewing it as a child coming into like that's how I've always taken it is this is because if you look at the beginning, they show you every character is in her
Right.
room. Every
Yes.
character is a plushie or a figure or
Right.
something
Yeah.
in her
Box.
room. So like
Yep.
I assume this does not exist somewhere until the very end when they're like, why didn't you say so? And then magically they're there and they're like, well, that screws my whole pooch. But like I don't know. That's what I always thought is that it's just in her head.
Yeah, although
Okay.
Wendy could still also be in her head.
Right.
she
good at
she
imagining.
just needs immediate care at the end.
That's
Yeah,
why
because
you shouldn't
that's
leave her with
stepmom's
the
uncle.
baby. They
Yeah.
came home and they're like, oh God, Sarah's lost it.
Well, it's okay. Lancelot had it covered.
That bear. All right.
That looks like Fozzie a little bit.
A little bit. So
Get a little red.
does anyone know, was this movie catered to David Bowie? Or like were there any other potential Jareths? It's hard for me to separate them. Like this
I feel
movie.
like
from
I
David-
read this. Where did I read this? Hold on. It's probably in my history.
I mean, he also did the music, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it was meant for him the whole time.
Like it just
But that
contributes,
they-
I think, to the craziness and the wonderfulness and the weirdness of this movie. It's just like how, yeah, David Bowie as the Goblin King. I'm not sure what I want to discuss, but I feel like we should talk about David Bowie as the Goblin King. What do you think works? What do you think doesn't work? If anything, I think he's great. I
The
still have-
pants are doing some serious work. There's no doubt about that.
A little commotion for the pants.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's 3 actors in every scene that he and Jennifer Connelly.
I mean, to that extent, it was distracting. Like, it was distracting how tight those pants were.
I
wonder
read
if they
that it was a
changed
bag
how
of
they shot it.
potpourri.
A bag of potpourri.
I read that
Potpourri.
somewhere, like literally, like this, like couple weeks ago, that it was like a bag of potpourri because the cod piece that was in there got like
I was
stinky.
gonna say,
so-
I feel like that's a thing with cod pieces. I'm positive I've like heard that in a theater history class. Like cod
What is a cod piece? I'm sorry.
we'll toss that
What?
ball
You
over
don't
to
know what a
Matt.
cod
to
piece
explain.
is?
No,
What
cod
is
pieces,
a
Lisa?
cod piece?
Theater
A cod
history,
piece
like
is
the-
a cup.
like a
It's
jock.
a cup.
It's
Yeah.
a cup.
It's like a jock strap.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a cup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
I feel
don't
like it
just
was
call it a jock
in
strap.
maybe
God,
Greek theater. Maybe I'm conflating.
Cod,
Is
what?
that not a thing people use anymore?
No, cod piece, that goes all the way back to the Middle Ages with suits of armor. The groin part is called the cod piece,
Cod piece.
and they would vary in sizes.
I thought it had something to do with fish. Cod.
Which, if anybody really knows what they're talking about, has more to do with the pearls than the fish. Really, if you know.
Well said.
So I mean, David Bowie might just. Who knows?
That's so funny. Oh my god. What were we talking about?
I don't know, David Bowie. What did he
Cod pieces.
contribute to the movie?
Other than his cod piece.
Handsome music and amazing hair.
Yeah, great hair.
He
Honestly.
acted well with the Muppets. He did a Tim Curry-esque job of really, because he had to be mean to the Muppets. He could never be sweet. He was never being sweet to the Muppets or the puppets,
No.
whatever. They're Henson puppets, so they're Muppets to me. He was never in a situation where he could be funny or kind, really. He was always a villain. So
When he like kicked puppets, that was my favorite part.
I feel like he fits very into that like late 80s tuxedo mask style, like realm of like, am I a villain? Am I just a love interest? Like, what am I doing? I don't know why I'm here, but I'm very mysterious and I'm a man, so I can't show any emotion. And like, that's very like, but he's androgynous, but also quite obviously a man. And so I'm just like, there's that whole aspect. Again, calling back to what we talked about last week, think of the time period. Like, look at other art outside of this in that time period, because Henson was that type of artist. He was very influenced by what is going on in the world right now, artistically. So, like, last week you saw notes of that. This week you saw notes of that.
Yeah, it feels very 80s. When I think about what was the 80s, I think Labyrinth. Now, at least today.
That's
but,
fitting.
I feel like you posed a question I thought was interesting. I can't remember how you worded it, but the question of, is he a villain or is he not a villain? Do we think he unanimously is or isn't? Because it is kind of like the Ursula Little Mermaid thing of a deal was made, the transaction just being carried out by the Ursula / Jareth person. But again, I'm not clear on what his motivations are. But seemingly, she said the magic words, although she didn't know that those were the magic words. But her heart was in it. So I'm not sure where I stand on who deserves the baby.
He's certainly the antagonist, but I need to know more about his motivations if I can before I call him an all-out villain. I think it's suspicious that he's building an army. Very suspicious.
Yeah.
That's usually villainous behavior, but not always.
I'm trying to think of what he says to her. She keeps saying that's not fair. And he's like, you say that so often, I wonder what you have to compare it to. Something like that. And so, like, I don't think that's like, I don't know. Like, I do agree, like, antagonistic for sure. But, like, he's obviously, like we talked about with Jeanette, like, he's obviously some sort of, like, figment of her imagination. And he's obviously trying to teach her something, right? But we just, like, what is the motivation behind his teaching? Because he's kidnapped a child. Do you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, he's kidnapped a child. But he's still trying to, like, teach her something. So, yeah, this is a question for the ages, I feel.
Yeah. Well, I guess jumping off of that, what do we think he's trying to teach her, or what do we think she has to learn? Like, specifically looking at that first couple of scenes, like, I guess I just paid more attention this time. It always felt weird to me that someone her age had such a young brother, but I guess I bypassed the fact that her dad has remarried and seemingly like the product of the new marriage. So there's the whole implied story of like she has to accept a new family, whatever responsibilities, but also the family seems kind of terrible. Like, I'm not a fan of the stepmom because she seems a little too comfortable with Sarah just saying like, well, I just assumed you didn't have a date. I wish you would have a date. It's like, that's kind of like, if you're newly
also
this girl, it's not like, no.
The only way you should be, this is what I thought at that moment. The age that maybe as a mother you might be saying that to a girl is maybe 18. Like, hey, I really wish you'd have a date sometimes. Haven't seen what, right? Maybe like into adulthood. She's got to be 14, 15, 16 at most. And this woman's like, I don't see you with a date. My daughter is freaking like, I'm getting upset. It's like 11 and a half. And I cannot imagine in like, I don't know, what, 3.5, 4 years looking at her and going, why don't you have a date? Like, I cannot imagine. That's, again, a timely thing, right? Like, this is just, I don't know, a little weird. I think it's also supposed to impress upon us the fact that she is not maturing. To me, that's the whole point of this film.
Correct.
He is the symbol of her accepting her family, being responsible to her family, being responsible in general, being mature, like exiting. The labyrinth is the idea to me of exiting this fantasy world, exiting the fairy world, which like again, like, do we need to do that ever fully? No. And like at the end of the film, maybe that's what that's supposed to mean, is like you can be mature and still in we'll be here for you if you ever need us. And it's like, well, you can be an adult with an imagination, right? So yeah, I don't know. That's what that all symbolizes and means to me at that point in the story.
Well said. Co-signed.
I agree. Yes.
Yeah, like to that point, I kind of had the same thought process about what is it trying to say she should be doing or should be learning at the end, especially when she was saying goodbye to the friends in the mirror. And I just had a moment of thinking, I really hope this movie isn't going to nail home that for her to grow up, it means her giving up all the things that made her happy and keeps her imagination active. And I was happy and pleasantly surprised to see that that wasn't the case. And I think another piece of that puzzle is also that scene with the junk collecting lady when she takes her back to the room and she's just like piling the crap onto her. She's like, oh, well, you love this thing and you love this thing. And then her realization of it's just stuff. I need my brother. And I'm not sure. Well, I guess it's fairly obvious what that scene is there to imply. But at the same time, it makes me think, is this the movie preaching that she should be packing up all of this stuff and just like keep the spirit alive in her? And I think I'm particularly sensitive to it because I have a lot of toys in my room. But
yeah,
I feel like we all subscribe to the have a lot of toys. like respectfully, I don't know Lisa and Vince, but I feel like everybody here today.
No, I don't. What are you talking about?
See
like,
it.
hello, this is
What are you talking about? No.
But I do. We have toys.
Listen, you can't
Yes,
say
we
toys,
do.
okay? I got a wanda and a rabbit.
well, what did I just miss? Never mind.
Never mind.
It's okay. We're moving
Not
on.
for you,
Chapel
that was from
Road,
the
that's
internet, and that's it.
I think this villain's really unique, and I don't think anyone else really could have played him the same way, this over the top.
No.
You know, I think
Right.
Jareth is so over the top that, like, you know, you look at it, you're like, oh, it's Bowie, so I'll let it slide, and I'm gonna have a great time watching this. You know, he's not a real actor. He's a rock star. You know, they rented out this rock star.
It's Bowie. If you've ever watched a Bowie performance before, like even Zoolander, like just any Bowie performance, he is just Bowie, and he is in your movie. You can call him whatever you'd like, but he is Bowie, and he is in your movie. So.
I looked it up. Oh, sorry. I looked it up and I saw that they were looking at Sting, Prince, and Michael Jackson as well.
Oh, Michael Jackson. That would have been great.
Instead, Michael Jackson
like Prince
did
100.
EO.
But Prince would have been like way too horny. Like Prince, like
he's too short to take seriously. He's too short to take seriously, and he is way too like if Prince is too sexed up, David Bowie is the notch down. And for anybody that understands rock music, that ain't saying much. It's just like Bowie is the less sexed up version of Prince, and that is fitting.
I'm glad they didn't pick
insult
Sting.
David Bowie. We need to express that it's not an insult.
Well, see, I always confuse Bowie and Sting, so
if they got Sting to do this movie, if they got Sting to do this movie, it would have been like 8 hours long.
It would have been Dune.
I was gonna say, Sting is Dune, and I keep on
is Dune is Sting in sexy wear and futuristic is
kind
Dune.
of, yeah.
So that's it. I think they all got their comeuppance. Michael Jackson got Captain EO, Sting got Dune, and Prince got all of the 80s. So
except Purple Rain, the movie.
Yeah, and Purple Rain. I'm just saying he really like Bowie was. He had his time as late 70s, early 80s. Prince was just like all of the 80s.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting to just think that definitely the vision was to have Jareth being like an outright rock star. I enjoy that. I don't know how Jim's mind ever went to that place, but I respect that it did.
I wonder if it was like a business decision, to be honest. Like
it says in the Wikipedia, if Wikipedia is to be trusted,
Scholarly Journal Wikipedia.
the Jones, somebody else involved in the making, Terry Jones, Henson approached Terry Jones for the film's script. So the script writer said Bowie's involvement in the project had a significant impact on the direction the film was taken. So that was in the writing from the beginning. So they must have been considering people and then wrote it. It says that it started being written in 83, or concepts were started in 83. Early script in 84. Oh, Terry Jones. Oh, I thought so. Monty Python. I was like, is that the Terry Jones? Yeah.
Oh,
Cool.
There's a Terry. I always think of Terry Gilliam, but there's also a Jones apparently.
So yes, of Monty Python wrote the first draft. So yeah, this was being considered, and that makes sense. I mean, that early 80s time period, all of those people, and Prince was really budding. Imagine if Prince had done this and that was part of his early career. That would have really sent him on a different trajectory, I think.
I wonder how much that would have affected the music. Presumably they would have had whoever it was write what, like their did Bowie write Magic Dance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it says composed by. It says all the songs that he did were composed by him. But
Wow.
the score, and it's so you talked about this being very of the period, and like the score is those very like tones. It's very Tron, is what I'm.
Yeah.
It
Yes.
sounds very Tron.
I feel like it almost doesn't fit, right?
Little bit.
Like,
It's a little empty for how rich the world is.
like I don't know if you guys are on like the dark fantasy AI side of TikTok, but like I get those videos a lot. Sorry guys, I have weird niches. And that's the music that's always in the background. It's like it's kind of like Stranger Things almost.
Yes, like
Like,
don't, but
Ah.
yeah,
like-
Yeah.
and then, like droning
Synthwave.
out tones from that.
Synthwave.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's
Yeah.
exactly what it is. And that's
Wow.
what the music in Labyrinth sounds like 100%. Outside of like the songs, like the musical numbers.
Yeah. The
Mhm.
score is that. It's like it feels very. I don't want to say cold, but it feels cold. Like that's the best
Yeah.
description I can say. Sterile, maybe, but like in a good way for me. I like that electronic sound of that. But then it doesn't really match up with how rich and deep the imagery is. I think like if things
Yeah.
are that like ancient looking and like like maybe there should be more flutes or violins or something. in the
Yes.
music.
Yeah.
Yeah, just the juxtaposition though does feel very of the time and very classically 80s. Like when we describe that type of music, I just think back to Return to Oz, which is my go-to weird 80s movie. And it like they do move through more musical styles, but it definitely has still that like electronic 80s cold, heartless synth sound to it at the same time, also paired with a weird fantasy world. So I almost feel like that combination defined fantasy in this era. It's just like classically 80s, a synth and a labyrinth. There you go.
Yeah.
Synth and ruins. There we go. So speaking of the labyrinth, I'm curious to know what was everyone's favorite thing that was encountered, character or moment or trap.
I'll
Anyone?
go. I'm
Yeah.
so excited. The Shaft of Hands.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's my favorite. It's
Okay.
now
yeah.
having seen the documentary, it's so Henson.
Yeah.
And I didn't know that before. Like that's so him. And that made me happy. But as a kid, it was terrifying. It was like the most terrifying part of all of this for me. And as an adult, I'm like, oh, the joys that we could have in there. But it's just there's just a lot that could go on in the Shaft of Hands.
That's so
It's could
moment.
be, and then I love like the whole like, you want to go up or you want to go down, and then they're like, she said down, and like there's no turning back. I don't know. It was everything else was very whimsical, and that was very dark. It was like, I don't know. I love it. It's very I don't know, ephemeral. Like it's not hard. There's not a puppet. It's amorphous. I love it.
Oh, it's so cool. I remember watching a behind the scenes documentary when they were in the rehearsal hall figuring out how to make faces.
Yeah.
And just it's so clunky in rehearsal, and then seeing it come together so effortlessly.
Would you put the lights on it?
And the makeup,
Yes.
that dressing, like so amazing.
And also just knowing that they are all human hands and just figuring out the logistics of that,
Yeah.
of what those people were going through. like on the other side of the wall, all crammed together. It's so good. The practical effects in this movie just make me giddy because they're so good. And I feel so many of them, like I had to keep on going back to reminding myself that CGI wasn't really a thing.
On that note, you literally just read my mind. I just read a thing because I was trying to find out. I was like, wait, the CGI in this movie. The owl at the beginning is the first use of a realistic CGI animal in a film.
Ooh.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah. And I thought I was just as you said that, I was looking that up and I was like, what's with the CGI in this film? Because I know that CGI looks better than like Spawn did in 1997, 11 years later. So I'm just gonna say that CGI was pretty fabulous for this time period.
Yeah. That owl flew so that Hedwig could soar.
there you go.
Absolutely.
Yes. Sam, what's your favorite thing in the Labyrinth?
The fireys, like they don't make any sense, and like I don't know why they're there, and like they totally throw off like the tone
Yes.
of like the
Yeah.
second act, but like wow, like I don't know, man. And then like, you know, again, when you grow up and you're like, oh, that was Kevin Clash, like the voice of Elmo, like the original, like the Elmo puppeteer. You know what I mean? Yeah, like, but I always like them, and because they're there and then they're gone and they cause chaos. And I thought they were always so funny. I was always afraid though when they like knocked their eyeballs out, like kind of like in Beetlejuice, and like we're playing around with them. I didn't like that. But I enjoyed their existence. I don't know what their purpose was or their meaning was, but I liked them. They're always been my favorite.
And I love how they have their own rules about like you can only take off your own head.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like even
I thought that was the most
body
Alice
autonomy
in
is important.
Yes.
Wonderland.
They look like something in Alice in Wonderland. Like
The little things that
Oh,
are cleaning up the
the people
sidewalk whenever she's
Yeah.
down there.
yes.
I also thought, well, upon this rewatch, I was like, these things are the most ambiguous as far as like not being a villain or a hero, like or anything. They're just like
Chaotic neutral.
there.
Yeah.
Like they're like they're kind of like, hey, give us your head, but they don't mean it in a bad way. They literally
they're just like, we're
everybody's
playing.
heads come off. Like
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. I just never really thought about them before as far
Right.
as like whether they were good or bad. I think when I was a kid, I thought they were bad because they seemed a little bit menacing. But no, on this rewatch, I was like, no, they're fine.
They're definitely, I feel,
They literally say we're here to have a good time.
Yes.
chill it down with the fire gang. That's another thing that was in the behind the scenes documentary. That it must have been on the like a DVD that I rented when I saw this in high school, because I can't think of where else I would have seen this. But yeah, that whole sequence, it like they put Jennifer Connelly essentially into like a black velvet room, and the puppeteers had to be in like black velvet suits because that was the only way to make all the head separation stuff happen, was to essentially green screen it, but instead of green screen, black velvet it. Because reasons.
Nice.
CGI.
Black Velvet.
Yeah. Black velvet.
My go-to karaoke song.
It's a good one. Canadian classic. It's Canadian, right?
Alana
Yeah,
Miles. Yeah, she's Canadian.
absolutely.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
Lisa, what was your favorite moment in the Labyrinth?
It is like a very small moment, but I remember rewatching it and thinking how incredible. It's like when she's just like running down the straight path and she comes across the worm and he's like, there's a doorway right there, and she's looking at it, and then she just like takes a step and it's like she's in the next part of the labyrinth, and I'm like, what an illusion. I love it. So satisfying. So satisfying. Yeah. Very simple.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you
Yes.
mentioned that, because that moment I just find from a filmmaking perspective so exciting.
Yeah.
Because I want to believe, and I'm fairly certain it was just all practical, and it was like because of the vines you can't tell what the separation is, but it came together perfectly, and it's so
good.
satisfying.
So satisfying.
And the worm too. He's
So
just so insistent.
Oh, me, I'm just a worm.
Coleman
That
Salt.
was a Hot Topic shirt when I was a kid. That was like one of the Labyrinth
Oh,
shirts
really?
they sold, was the worm, and it just said hello.
Hello.
Nice.
Hello.
Well, hello. Now I said hello.
Hello.
Said hello.
So cute. Vince, what's your favorite moment in the Labyrinth?
Favorite moment has to be when the unsung hero of the movie, Ludo, summons the rocks at the end. He starts earthbending
Oh yeah.
and saves the day. He pulled more weight than any other member of the Fellowship in this movie. Like Ludo's my favorite in
Ludo
this.
is fabulous.
Well, actually, I wanted to ask who everyone's favorite character was. So this is a good transition because I'm very much
Perfect.
Team Didymus. I love Sir Didymus. I can't
He's
explain
good.
it, but I love him. I want him as a friend, a pet, and a companion.
Is he the fox squirrel guy?
Riding the dog.
Yeah.
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 I adore him. I can't explain why. I just do. The heart wants what it wants.
Yeah.
And it wants a Didymus. Yes. Lisa, who's your favorite Labyrinth creature?
I toggle between Ludo and Hoggle. Hoggle? Yeah. Hoggle.
Hoggle.
I like there's just something about Hoggle, like just wanting friends and like being suspicious about friendship and being easily bribed, but then also like no, like he has such a strong understanding of what true friendship is. By the end of it, you're like, thanks, Sarah. And I don't know, he's just so like the entire time I was like, how is he being operated? Like there were so many spots where I was like, there has to be someone in the suit, but like then I'm like, no, it's too tiny. Like there must be strings, but there was never strings.
Oh no, it was a human. It was a person of small stature who was wearing an animatronic mask. So there were a bunch of puppeteers with controls that were making the mouths move while someone was physically acting. But the coordination between, I think, the acting physically and the face stood out to me. I was like, this is amazing. Like this is all one coherent creature that I'm looking at right now.
So cool.
Yeah.
My favorite part with Hoggle was when Sarah's trying to bribe him with the plastic bracelets, and he like is like so enamored by it, and he's like, oh, it's just plastic. It's precious. I don't know. I think Hoggle will be it for me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Sam, Jeanette.
I probably feel like Ludo. He's like a very Chewbacca-esque character, and I like he is like that's essentially what he is. And I don't know. Was there a better line delivery in the film than "smell bad"? No, I think not. So Ludo is just, and you're right. He does save the day with the rocks. Like he is a good pal and he's cute and I love him. And that's all I have to say.
So cute.
He is cute. I would like a Ludo plushie.
I want plushies of all the characters.
Probably one out there somewhere.
Life size though.
Like a big one?
Yeah.
I have room.
Yeah.
I'll figure it out.
You can make
That's called a man, Lisa.
Oh, I already have that.
Yeah. I do too.
You just need to grow horns now, Vince.
Yeah.
They sell those at Renaissance Festival. It's okay.
I can already summon rocks, so we're good.
Yeah. And you could defend me against the smelly bogs.
And
I do that.
pants.
That's my day job.
That's your day job.
it all comes together.
Yeah.
Comes together. Jeanette, who's your favorite Labyrinth friend?
So I'm sitting here thinking, and I think it's actually, can I say the core goblins, like the little fruity ones that are like the ones in the core little picture there in the middle that are talking to each other? Like through the whole time, I just love the silly goblins. I love silly goblins.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'd have to say Jareth, but he's not a puppet, so like,
he counts as in the Labyrinth.
Sure.
But him and the Goblin King and the goblins like together, I think that's. But the goblins, I especially in that opening scene when they're talking to each other, like I love that.
Yeah, agreed. I like the little one in the middle, the main one, as it were.
I love the big eyes and like the little meepy mouths and.
I kept wondering if it was the great Warwick Davis that was in the Hoggle suit, and it wasn't, but it turns out he was one of the goblins. Like
he
it was? Yeah,
really?
He's credited as one of the backup one of the background actors. So I guess it must have been an early
goblin
role
that caught
for
the
him.
baby.
Oh,
very possible. the great Warwick Davis.
I
Hell
feel
yeah.
better about the safety of the baby knowing it might have been Warwick Davis.
I'm just gonna tell myself that Warwick Davis is the one that caught the baby.
It's canon now. It's canon.
Headcanon accepted.
Done. So if this movie were to be rebooted, franchise rather, or remade, I would like everyone now to pitch me a Jareth alternative.
Hang on, they have to be alive right now.
Yeah. This like
Okay.
Netflix will make the limited series like they did Dark Crystal. Yeah. Lisa,
Do they-
Lisa's mute. Is Lisa?
Lisa, you're muted. She
Okay.
looks like she has a very good point to make.
I had to sneeze and then it never took myself off unmute. My two options would be, because I know they would sell the tickets, Harry Styles or Austin Butler. I know they would.
Austin Butler.
But can they sing? Oh, Austin Butler can. We know
Austin
that.
Butler can.
Harry Styles is a singer. Duh.
Yeah.
I had to think out loud for a second, Lisa. Just let me think out loud for a second. I was like, wait, can they sing? Austin Butler sang. And Harry Styles is a singer. Duh.
Yeah, those are my two choices.
I can get on board. I think I'd be more in favor of Harry Styles because
Because I
Yeah.
think he could write the music too. Like,
He can also do androgyny a bit.
yeah. And he's got like that, you know, suave persona that's not as like David Bowie, but similar-esque.
Mhm.
He can move his hips.
I'm having trouble pulling my brain out of like rock stars of the early 2000s. It's like if
Same.
I choose Marilyn Manson, Jareth is going to have a pot belly, and that's not going to be okay. So
I mean,
like
Okay.
I'm trying to think of somebody that would literally be okay today.
I don't know Jojo Siwa.
No. Chapel Roan. Oh my God, wait. Chapel Roan.
Chapel Roan could do it.
I don't know
Okay,
Yeah.
wait a minute. Now we're
Wait,
cooking with
Lady
gas,
Gaga,
ladies.
Lady Gaga could do it too.
Hold on. Here we go.
Yes.
Yeah, Lady Gaga.
Yes.
That's my
Lady
choice.
Gaga.
Sorry, Lady Gaga is my freaking choice.
Lady
That's my
Gaga,
choice.
yeah,
I had to
yeah.
talk myself there, but that's my choice.
But I
Well-
feel like they would cast like Timothy Chalamet. Do you know what I
He
mean?
could be okay,
No.
but I don't know if he can.
Wow.
sing.
No. I don't
no.
want that. But that
Wow.
would be who they would pick. Like that's just how Hollywood works. I feel
I like
Yeah.
the idea though of having a Lady Goblin King or Lady Goblin.
Can we stuff her pants? Can we still
Of
have
course
like
we
the
can.
Labyrinth pants, but with Lady Gaga? Especially since that was controversy early in her career. Everybody thought she had a,
Yeah.
So yeah, that I would eat that up. I mean, no, not like that. I mean,
Hello.
That's all right. I vote for
I
that.
would.
I would.
Yeah, I know. I was like, well, I mean, since we're here,
See, my vote would be someone like Lady Gaga, but then I would also want Tilda Swinton to like just to continue the Bowie legacy to like maybe just have a cameo.
Tilda
Not
Swinton might be the
Jareth,
win.
but like the Grand High Goblin could potentially be like Tilda Swinton as a cameo, and then like the Gaga Goblin has to report to her. Let's say that would be my movie.
That could be good.
Okay.
What about Bruce Springsteen?
Is he still around? Still
Yeah,
good?
he's still around. Bruce Springsteen, Post Malone might have what it takes.
Post
What
Malone
about
do an interesting.
That's a hairy Jareth. That's
he
a
would do
very hairy Jareth.
Glenn Close is a good option. I like that comment there.
Ooh.
Has anyone
If we're
said
gonna go
Kate
Glenn Close, can we
Blanchett
go-
yet?
Okay, Kate Blanchett. We can take that. We can take Kate Blanchett.
Yeah,
For
I'll
sure.
take one of those. I
I'll
saved
take
her
Kate
for
Blanchett.
last.
I'll take Kate Blanchett. We'll take Kate Blanchett for anything.
Honestly, I would not be mad if it was Kate Blanchett. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the aesthetic is too similar to Lord of the Rings. I would just think, why isn't she Galadriel?
Stuff Kate Blanchett's pants, and Jesus Christ, you've got every pansexual from here to eternity.
unless it was-
So I'm just.
I would be
Wow.
in favor of Lydia Tarr playing.
Yeah. Oh, the great Lydia Tarr, the famous composer.
Stop it right now.
I'm a big fan of her work. Anytime there's a composer question on Jeopardy, I always guess Lydia Tarr.
Oh my God. You're a disgrace. You're a disgrace.
I think she's pretty good. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you, Matt, for keeping the joke alive.
It's not a joke. It's very serious. Like Labyrinth 2 starring Lydia Tarr. Let's make the poster.
No,
I love it.
Oh God, Glenn Close as the girl from Fatal Attraction. Going too off the rails now. Going too off the rails.
Oh God.
How fun. So something else I think is interesting about this movie is I believe it's more or less the last big thing that Jim did, isn't it? That at least wasn't Muppet related. And I don't think it did very well at the box office, which might be why we didn't get more movies sort of in this realm.
Yeah,
But
neither one did very well.
like if he was able to keep making stuff, would you have been a fan of it being more in this direction, like the high fantasy direction, or would you have preferred he put his like efforts more towards Muppet content if he had been with us a bit longer and could have created a little bit longer?
I think seeing as this was 86, so I don't think the contract with Disney had started yet, but it started very soon after this. And if he would have given the Muppets to them, I would have preferred that he kept going this direction and doing things to push the boundaries of like blurring the line of puppetry. But then I also have no idea what would have happened to him once CGI became what it was. Like if he would have just continued to meld the two, or what would have happened to him if he would have been like sad about it and kind of fell off.
I feel like he might have been at the forefront of using it. Would be
hopefully. I mean, he already was kind of in this one in the beginning, at the beginning scenes of this one. But I would have liked to see him keep going this direction because I feel like he really was a revolutionary, and the Muppets were the thing that he created, kind of much how Walt handed over animation to a lot of people. He was like, here's the animation studios, you guys do this, I'm gonna go make theme parks now. And like, I feel like Jim, to me, like I said, I think I said before last week, like he is the Walt after Walt. Like he is the person that was a visionary and had like so many ideas he could never get them all out of his head. And I just would have liked to see him push the envelope more, like keep doing it.
Yeah, I agree. I think watching this movie, it feels like it's a perfectly imperfect film, but it feels like it was a step towards something that could have been really exciting if he had been able to make more things sort of going down this road. And I mean, I'll just keep going back to the storyteller as embracing the full potential. Everyone watched The Storyteller, but if he could have made more movies, I would have loved to have seen what kind of weird out of the box things he would have done, especially to see if he would have kept going in the fantasy realm or if he would have explored puppetry in other spaces, like maybe science fiction. Maybe he would have had aliens. Maybe there would have been a Jim Henson alien puppet movie. Been in favor.
That would have been cool. That would have been really cool.
They probably would have brought him in to work on Harry Potter or something.
Oh, for sure.
Right.
Well, I'm pretty sure the Creature Shop at least was involved in Harry Potter. Well, the Creature Shop was involved in like everything. Yeah, like my favorite Alice in Wonderland movie. I think it was just me and Kristen Zaz on that boat, though. But still,
it's not the what is the Beyond or whatever the mouse film, the little weird Russian one.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Baby, come on.
Yeah. It was very. Alex does it great.
It was the Romanian one. Where did Vince go?
Where'd Vince go?
Lost Vince.
He followed the White Rabbit taxidermy thing down the elevator, like in that weird Alice in Wonderland movie.
So sad.
That's where he went.
He'll be back.
He will. He'll be back soon.
You'll see.
All right. Well, whilst we wait for Vince, any closing thoughts on the movie before we go on to the game?
I can't wait to watch it again in a few months.
Yeah. That's the thing. I think this movie has really good rewatchability.
Yeah.
Compared to, because I've been reflecting on this versus Dark Crystal, and I much prefer the story and the script from Dark Crystal, but I would watch this 100 times before watching Dark Crystal again.
Yeah.
Probably.
I've never seen Dark Crystal.
You don't need to. I mean, you can.
What?
It's fun, but like,
if she likes Labyrinth, she most certainly should see Dark
I
Crystal.
like Labyrinth. I don't know. I liked Labyrinth and I did not like Dark Crystal.
I'll try it.
Yeah.
It's on Netflix, right?
Scary, creepy.
I think so.
things.
Yeah, I'll
Mistake.
try it.
It's definitely worth watching. It's worth seeing.
I'll try it.
It's much more monotone than this
Yes.
film.
Yeah.
There's no musical numbers.
No.
And no humans. I
No,
really
no
I
humans.
That's fine.
Dark Crystal though made me realize that I want these movies to have at least one human, or I want the puppetry to be good enough that I don't realize that there are no humans.
Yeah, the Dark Crystal, they were pushing the envelope, and like I said, those things that you see now that they've like updated how it looks, they've cleaned it up. Some of the
Mhm.
things don't read quite as well.
Got
now.
it.
Yeah.
So if you have a VCR, watch it on VHS. It's probably better.
Oh, watch the miniseries before the movie. Okay.
Yeah,
Vince,
the
where
miniseries
did
is
you go?
Where are you?
the power went out.
Oh.
Oh.
But yes, I haven't seen the series yet, but it goes. So I realized that whenever I went to look for Skeksis stickers on Instagram, there were a bunch of other like tribes, and I was like, "What the heck is this?" And that because I'd only watched the first episode of the Dark Crystal show, and so yeah, I guess there's like a bunch of other creatures that have little symbols.
Mhm.
So there's like a whole world with it now.
Yeah, Sam, last week was fun because no one knew how to pronounce Skeksis.
Snacks.
Skeksis.
That's what?
Snacks.
It's Skeksis.
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 They're
It's
like
the weird,
vultures.
grotesque bird-looking things from
Yeah.
the Dark Crystal.
Oh.
The Skeksis.
Yeah, they're the main group of villains and antagonists, and they're creepy looking. They're creepy bird things.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
That's my
afraid of
favorite
birds.
part of the Dark Crystal.
yeah. There was a cut of the movie where they didn't speak English; they spoke their own invented language, and which is just wild to me. And I don't know how I feel about that.
Because Jim Henson walked so that James Cameron could run.
True.
And that's
I
what ticks
believe
me
it.
off is that James Cameron got to do it 20 years later, but
It's
Jim
true.
couldn't do it.
But James gave us subtitles. I don't think Jim wanted
Oh,
subtitles.
Jim wasn't going to put subtitles?
No, he just wanted the yapping.
Oh, no. No, we need some subtitles.
I know. And then I think the first step was him just saying, no, they're speaking their own language. I'm
You
sure
know
the audience
why?
can
'Cause
figure it out.
I think I might have touched on this last week. That whole global society idea of the early 80s, late 70s was so rich. Like that
Mhm.
idea of like, we can understand each other without language. Like,
And like I
You
think
know?
that's the case when it's a human speaking a language you don't know. But when it's a puppet that's babbling
that
incoherently,
doesn't have all of this on their
Yes,
face. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. Like the emotion and the reading. Yeah, no, I didn't know he didn't want subtitles.
And then I think subtitles might have been the next step. And then they said, just make them speak English.
Imagine people in the early 80s telling them that for a mildly children's film, you'd have to go sit down and watch subtitles. They'd be like,
Truly.
Gosh.
They'd probably call that like woke, whatever the equivalent of like woke propaganda is.
in the
like,
80s, right?
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
he wouldn't
No,
have
I don't
that.
think anybody would have gone. I can tell you right now, my parents wouldn't have brought me to see.
Nope.
Gosh. Well, I think it probably would have played as one of those things where it might have been marketed as like a Jim Henson fantasy movie, and they don't really tell you that a third of it is not in English. And then you get there, and then you get the vulture things just going.
I'll have to give it a try after these glowing reviews.
Well, now they speak English now. And
They do speak English now. But you can find one or two scenes on YouTube of the original cut when they're not, and it's really fun. It's really fun. Anyway, so
actually, I've got to tell you, if you like the film Fifth Element, I think you'll like Dark Crystal.
I love Fifth Element.
To me, as a huge fan of Fifth Element, it's like Fifth Element with none of the comedy.
Okay, perfect.
Am I wrong?
No Ruby Rod. Got it.
sounds right.
Yeah, basically no root. Well, actually, I guess maybe Holga or Helga or whatever her name is would be Ruby Rod in this one. But
I love it.
yeah, no, it has those vibes. That very like witchcrafty future. Like if we don't do this, the world's gonna end. We need these stones. Like that sort of stuff. You know.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, it's a fun time. It's a yeah. Let us know what you think. Let us
All
know.
right, will do. I'll report back with my findings, comrades.
All right, on to the game. So, Sam, for the game, Jeanette and Lisa have already done this, but I will
Yeah.
give you a minute to make a puppet. The puppet will be utilized in
give
the
me
game
1
out of
minute to
whatever
stop.
household items you have around you. I challenge you to craft a puppet.
Can I just use my like Canadian moose?
If you truly can bring him to life, I encourage that. Yes, we will need a name, and I encourage a voice as well.
Okay. Yeah, we'll stick with my Tim
Let's do
Hortons
this.
guy.
Nice. Is he from Tim Hortons?
No, I feel like that's racist of me to assume that everything from Canada is Tim Hortons associated.
Ah,
I apologize.
it's not racist.
We just had a musical called The Last Timbit in Toronto, and it was like probably the most expensive marketing ploy any company
Ever.
has undertaken, and it was only for a weekend.
Listen, I love that they paid artists to
Yep.
do it, give the artists jobs,
Sure.
but like it was the stupidest
Did you see it? Did you see it, Lisa?
No, out of principle, I did not see it. Come on.
I wanted to, but the tickets were far too expensive for
No.
what that was.
And it was like during
$80.
Pride weekend. Like,
Yeah.
Sam, I think your puppet's name has to be Tim Horton then.
It does.
Done.
yeah, there you go.
Done.
Oh, perfect.
Hooray!
I didn't miss the game, did I?
Yay!
Of course not. Of course not. Okay. So before we do the game, I'll give everyone an opportunity to introduce us once more or reintroduce us to your puppets. Here we go. We'll start with Jeanette.
This is Nimothy. So named for Secret of Nim because she's a mouse.
Hi, Nimothy. Happy to have you back. Okay,
My puppet, her name's Chloe. She's a little shy. She's a little camera shy at the beginning. It's okay, Chloe. Come on out. Hi.
Oh, Chloe, it's so good to see you again.
She'll warm up. She's competitive.
She will. She will. I think she won last time, didn't she? Did she win
She
last
sure
time?
did.
She did.
I
Yep, she
didn't hear
won.
the end of it.
She's
Yeah.
our reigning. All right, Sam, please introduce us to your puppet.
Okay, this is Tim Horton. He is a moose from Canada. Edwin smuggled him in his suitcase, so I don't know if he has his papers or anything. But all I know is he lives in my home.
Nice. And of course, Vince, please introduce us.
Hey guys, longtime viewers of the show might remember Glovo. Hey, Glovo's here. He's a glove. How you doing, Glovo? I'm not bad. I tell you, that Chloe's one real hot piece of ass, isn't it? Okay, that's enough of that. That's enough of that. I'm sorry. I think this is going to be the last appearance of Glovo.
No.
No, Glovo will live on, I'm sure. Yeah.
Chloe's feels the same.
About herself?
Yes.
Yeah.
Always an empowered woman. I love to hear it.
We love the confidence. We love the confidence. All right. So for tonight's game, inspired by that scene that I'm convinced would kill me in the labyrinth with the crazy riddle, I am going to ask a crazy riddle. And whichever puppet knows the answer, feel free to shout out the answer. So this is a free-for-all. It's not turns. This is puppet, eat puppet. That sounded weird, but it's every puppet for themselves. So hold on. Let me just make my scorecard. We have Glovo. We have Chloe. We have Tim Horton. And we have, there we go, Nimothy. Now, some of these are very difficult, but also at the same time, they're what came up when I looked for like the most classic ancient riddles. So maybe you've heard them. But also if you haven't, you won't figure them out. So here we go. The first riddle, puppet, please shout out the answer if you know the answer.
Okay.
Ahem. I am not alive, yet I grow. I don't have lungs, yet I need air. I don't have a mouth, yet water kills me. What am I?
Fire.
Glovo, you got the point.
That's right. I tell you, it's a good thing I have Glovo here, eh?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yay, Glovo! Yay!
Yay.
I'm loving all the support here. This is great.
Next, I start with an E, end with an E. but contain one letter. What am I?
I.
What?
I.
It is not I.
A female sheep and ew.
That's a good answer, though.
It is a
I
good
see
answer.
where she's going with that.
Wait,
I tried.
say it again. Say it again.
Ew.
Oh, I is a good answer.
Yeah.
That's not the.
Yeah,
not the-
thank.
Yeah, yeah.
Good job, Tim Horton. Don't
Is
let
it
the
not
haters get
you?
you down.
Ew.
It is not you. Once more,
What the
I start
heck?
with an E, end with an E, and contain one letter. What am I?
Oh, you only have E in you. I'm an E.
No. Start and end with
No.
E and contain one letter. Does Glovo know? Oh. No.
Not a clue on this one. Give me a minute.
Wait. It's a trick here. Hold on.
Yeah, I know.
It starts with an E and ends in an E, and it has one letter.
Then it's just E.
Contains.
Contains one letter.
Oh, I'm an envelope.
Yeah, you are, Glovo.
That's good.
I
Oh.
tell you, I'm not retiring anytime soon.
I think Glovo's either cheating or he's a savant.
I have a question for Glovo.
It could be
Excuse
the
me.
latter. I'm not sure.
Puppets.
I have a question for Glovo. Excuse me. Did you ever have a guest starring role on The Sopranos?
I've done a lot of work with a lot of great people back in those days.
Okay, just asking. Just curious.
Namely, O.J. Simpson.
Oh, God. That was my next question. I do
Next
love
one.
the American true crime scene, not gonna lie.
I'm gonna miss this when Puppet Month is over. Maybe they should just always be here. Okay. Next riddle. The one who makes it always sells it. The one who buys it never uses it. The one who uses it never knows they're using it. What is it?
Drugs.
The one who makes it sells it.
Yeah.
The one who uses
The one who buys it
never.
never uses it. I feel like that can be contended, but maybe it's applicable. And
Is
it's more
it
important.
life insurance?
It's not. That's very close, though.
Okay.
The one who
Okay.
uses it never knows they're using it.
White privilege.
No, that's
No.
maybe that is the answer, though.
Dang it.
Okay, well, Chloe and Tim, do you have guesses?
Nothing.
I got nothing here, folks.
We were looking for a coffin.
Dang it! I thought about it.
I
That's
was
a great one
close.
for Sam.
I was close.
I put that one in for
Person
you,
who
Sam.
everybody uses one though. There's not
I'm
someone
screaming.
who doesn't use
That's such
it.
a good one.
Right? Although I feel like someone could buy their own coffin, so that's why I hold issue with the middle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Many
What about
people
vampires?
Yeah. Mhm. And also, you could argue the one who uses it does know they're using it, but just not in the moment.
Correct.
Yeah.
They know where they're going to use it in the future.
do.
Yeah.
Unless
Yeah.
you're like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next, what lacks a body but always has a tail and a head?
A coin. A
Yes,
coin.
Chloe, you got it. It's a coin.
Yay, Chloe.
All right. Oh, this is like the classic Sphinx riddle. If
Okay.
anyone is familiar with ancient Egypt and all that, all the fun lore. What goes on 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 in the evening? It's a metaphor.
A human.
Yes, Glovo. Glovo, do you care to explain?
Well, it's from Oedipus Rex, isn't it?
That sounds
a cl-
right.
It's a classic.
Wait, isn't the riddle in Oedipus Rex who's screwing their mom? Surprise, it's you.
Well, no, that's subtext. That's a
Okay.
little different. But no.
That's Oedipus subtext.
Because you're crawling on 4 legs as a baby, then you're bipedal as you're an adult, and then you're
Oh, and then you have a cane.
you have a
Okay.
cane.
Okay.
So that
Okay. I
it's
thought they meant your schlong got really big.
Oh my god.
You scandalized Tim.
now we're talking.
He's a moose. He knows what I'm talking about.
Hello.
He's just a baby.
Next. 30 white horses on a red hill. First they champ, then they stamp, then they stand still. What are they?
Horses on a hill.
They're white horses on a hill.
First
Well,
they do what?
It's a metaphor. It's a metaphor.
First they do what?
First they champ, then they stamp, then they stand still. What are they?
Is it an
Champ?
avalanche?
No.
Nah.
Is it a mudslide?
No.
White horses.
No. They're not actually white horses. It's a metaphor. It's from
Champ?
Lord of the Rings. Yeah.
Champ?
Champ. C-H-A-M-C.
Okay.
I feel like it should be chomp, but whatever. First they champ, then they stamp, then they stand still. What are they?
Champ, stamp, and then they stand still. What's a champ? What?
Are we championing or are we
Like
chomping?
I feel like
Wait, is this one of the riddles that Bilbo and
I think it's a Bilbo Gollum hobbit.
okay.
Oh, I'm out. Tim Horton and I are out. We have
I
no
don't
race
know.
reference for Lord of the Rings.
I don't know.
This is thus further proving my lifelong fight and theory that Lord of the Rings is not that good. The answer is teeth.
Oh, chomp.
I feel like it should be champ, but it said champ when I
Oh, I hate it. I hate
champ,
it.
stamp, stand still. So it's like they're chewing.
I hate it. I don't
Yeah,
like
I do
it.
too. Me neither.
Game of Thrones is better.
Dragons. Show me the dragons. What runs but has no legs?
My
Diarrhea.
nose.
The fridge. The fridge.
These are all really good answers. They're not what I have.
I
down.
was gonna say the fridge. That, but then
Runs. What runs? Runs, but has no.
presidential candidate.
Water.
Water. Yes. Water is correct. Good job.
Wow, Glovo, you are killing it.
Glovo's bringing it in. All right. Next, what can travel around the world while staying in a corner?
A postage
A
stamp.
globe.
Yes,
A globe.
Tim, you got
Oh,
it.
Postage stamp.
It's a
Yay!
postage stamp.
Oh no! Good job, Tim.
It's a postage stamp. Woot. Okay, we got two more. Here we go. It belongs to you, but other people use it more than you do. What is it?
Your name.
It is your name, Glovo.
Woo!
I was gonna say your patience, but
Oh, that's a good one.
I like that. All right. Finally. Wait, hold on. Do I want to use this for the bonus question?
what is this?
No, it doesn't matter anymore. Okay, here we go. When asked who a certain photograph was of, the owner of the photograph replied, I have no brothers or sisters, but my mother's daughter is that man's mother. Who was in the photo?
My mother's daughter is that man's mother.
So it's her son.
Yes, it's her son.
It's her son.
That's how yeah, that's correct.
That's you got it.
Yeah.
You did it. It took me a lot longer to figure out what the logic was, and you just
That was
Really?
a good one.
That was a good one. All right. Well, the point standings are everyone has 1 point except for Glovo, who has
5.
5.
Good job, Glovo.
Glovo in the house.
Glovo, you
That's
won.
what I'm talking about.
You don't even have to do the bonus question because you would win anyway.
Unless Glovo was feeling lucky, maybe Glovo wants to go all
Does Glovo
in.
want to go all in?
Glovo's feeling lucky, baby.
Okay. Glovo can go all in. Hold on. Let me find another riddle. Hold on.
Glovo, are you all in?
I'm all in.
Okay. Glovo is all in. Is everyone else all in with their 1 point?
No,
Okay,
no, I'm
Chloe.
gonna keep it. I'm gonna keep it.
Okay, Chloe.
It's not looking good for Glovo.
Is anyone wagering their 1 point, or is everyone being
Yes, I'm wagering my 1 point.
okay?
Glovo is beginning to feel gambler's remorse.
Tim, where do you stand?
I guess I'll keep my point.
You'll keep your point? Okay.
I
Here we
suppose.
go. Ahem. And so for this, yes, every puppet will have an opportunity. Well, those puppets who have wagered will have an opportunity to answer. So that's just Glovo and Nimothy. Here we go.
Oh wait, I want to try now.
Oh, you want? Okay,
Changed
okay,
my mind.
okay,
Wait, hold on. I want to wager.
okay.
The rules
All
were
right.
unclear. I apologize.
All right, let's do this.
Here we go. Everyone will have a chance to answer. So, although if you hear each other's answers, we'll see how the cards.
You
play
can
out.
kick us all out.
Ooh, that's interesting. Yes, I like that. Let's do that. I'll tell you the riddle, and then I will remove all of you, save but one at a time, so your puppets can give their response. Here is your riddle. I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with wind. What am I?
Say that one more time.
It is. Actually, I'm going to put it up on the screen so that even when I remove you,
Thank you.
you can still see it. There we go. I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with the wind. What am I will now remove all of you. Granted, you might still be able to hear, but if you can, cover your ears. There you go.
What?
Off you go into the waiting room. Except for Glovo. You're first, Glovo.
Oh no. I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with wind. What am I?
What are you, Glovo?
What am I? A question every glove asks himself over the course of a lifetime. A tornado siren.
Okay.
That's my guess. I'm sticking to it.
All right. I'll bring you back in a little bit to let you know if you're right.
Godspeed.
Farewell, Glovo. Next, Nimothy, have you been thinking this over? Oh, you're muted. You're muted, Nimothy.
I've been thinking very hard. And all I've come up with is corn.
Corn. All
And
right.
that's not right.
I have locked in your answer, Nimothy. We'll see how you did. Chloe, dear sweet Chloe, do you have an answer for me?
I think just like Nimothy, the only thing I can think of is an echo.
Okay. I will lock that in. Thank you, Nimothy. Timmy boy Tim.
Hello.
What are we thinking?
I think I'm going to say wind chimes.
All right. One for wind chimes. Good answer. Good answer. Let's bring in all of our competitors. Hello, puppets. Welcome back. We had some very good answers. Some excellent answers. And one of you got the correct answer. So once more, what is it that speaks without a mouth, hears without ears, has no body but comes alive with the wind? Nimothy, would you like to tell us?
I think that Chloe got it, and it's an echo.
That's correct. Chloe did get it, and it is an echo.
Oh my goodness! Yay!
Well done. Chloe, champion 2 weeks in a row.
Woo!
Yay!
Although
Congratulations!
I would like to say that Glovo, you made us all run for our money.
That's what I'm here for, people. I always have everyone running away from me at top speed. Top speed.
Okay. Congratulations to all the puppets who played this evening. It was a valiant effort made by all. Kristen's here.
Woohoo!
You just
Yeah.
here for the tail end of the game. Kristen, quickly, let us know. What do you think about this movie? Write in the comments. Let us know. I feel like you love this movie. For the most part, I feel like everyone to some degree loves this movie because even if there are issues with the plot and the story and some of the acting, it's still magical because puppets. See, yes, there we go. Wonderful. All right, everyone. Well, any closing thoughts, anything that people would like to say about Labyrinth before we wrap up this show and Jim Henson month?
Gosh.
I
mean-
think something we haven't talked about is that Jim Henson in this film was able to successfully turn the entire set into a puppet that bends to his will. And isn't this like kind of his final form? What could he have done better than this? You know, it's kind of like I don't know, when Goku went Super Saiyan 3 and we thought that was the end of it. And, you know, Dragon Ball Z ended after that. So, you know, for like 20, 30 years, that's all we had. And that's kind of like where the Jim Henson crowd's at. We have this film that is entirely puppet. And that is Labyrinth.
Dark Crystal, though. Entirely. Yeah.
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 I would like to say that, like I said before, I think that Jim was a revolutionary and a visionary, and that this film contains things that, had we kept moving forward with them, maybe not instead of CGI, but in conjunction with CGI, we could be in which I think is where we're moving back to right now. People are starting to embrace some more practical effects in their films, but I think that was the world that Jim envisioned, was being able to infuse those two things. And I would love to see where we would be if he had lived, because we all got to see a little taste of it, that last little bit of Disney that he created and gave us. I think that Jim, if you go and watch that, I wasn't here for the documentary week, but that documentary is astounding. And if you even just sit there and think for 5 minutes about some of the concepts he came up with, it's like mind blowing. So just a little last send off to the man.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. I mean, I was never like a big fan of Jim Henson because I hadn't watched many of his things. So I really appreciate the assignment for this go around, Matt. Thank you very much. Like I think he was a trailblazer in terms of puppetry, his crafts. Like I think he changed the game a lot, and I think storytelling wouldn't have been the same without him. So, yeah.
Well said. Sam, what do you think about Labyrinth, Jim?
I love this movie. I love Jim Henson. I was kind of like a late bloomer with the Muppets. Like I grew up with this movie and then like Muppet Treasure Island for sure. Yes. And then I think I got like a better appreciation for like Jim Henson and the Muppets when I was older. Like especially like in my work with like being a funeral director, I had a lot of people ask me for grief resources, and I would always refer them to the Sesame Street episode when Mr. Hooper died, because I think that is genuinely like a perfect like example of like how to talk to a child about death and how to talk to a child about grieving. Because what is Big Bird if not a giant child, right? Like he's a big 3-year-old. So I have so much love and respect for Jim Henson and all of his work. And I love Labyrinth is literally like probably on my Mount Rushmore of films for sure. It's just so good. It always makes me feel good. Always something cool to look at. So I'm really glad I got to be here and talk about it with you guys today. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it was. And we did not address this because I didn't notice this. Did anyone notice the Cats musical poster in her room?
Yeah, I love the time period. This girl was someone this was the older sister of children I grew up with that I thought was the coolest. Like, had her little book of all, and she had like Robin Hood in there. and I was like, this is the older sister that had a journal that I was like obsessed with.
Yeah.
A generation. She defined a generation. I missed that, so I need to watch the movie again, which I'm okay with. I'd be curious to see what what Sarah would think of the new revival of Cats. I feel like she would love it. I kind of want to see it. I probably won't, but I want to. There we are. Anyway, I don't know what the next marathon is. I have some ideas, but I'm behind on planning, so stay tuned, everyone. We'll all find out together. Hooray.
Yay.
Hey, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for another delightful lineup of movies. Always love talking all these fun things with all of you. This is the time when you go full screen and you tell everyone watching everything that you want them to know about you and your work and your life. Let's start with Glovo.
Oh, hey, guys, Glovo's on the couch until the next puppet marathon. But I will say, we should do a Warwick Davis month or something.
Yes.
That'd be cool. You know, that's like a Harry Potter movie, then Leprechaun 1, Leprechaun 2, Leprechaun 3,
Leprechaun.
Absolutely.
Leprechaun in the Hood.
Leprechaun in the Hood, an unsung hero. My name is Vince. I run a channel called Only Time Will Tell on YouTube. I dive into paranormal mysteries and issues of the day in the Toronto area, the Great Lakes region, I should say. So give me a look. You know, I just posted an anime style opening to my channel. So when you click on my channel, you'll see it. Oh, and hey, one more thing. I'm not done yet. Chloe, if you're listening, call me sometime. See ya.
I don't know how to use a phone, so I think you're gonna have to come over when you're over at Lisa's place, okay. All right, now we have to deal with that, Vince. I hope you're happy. I'm Lisa. You can follow me on Instagram at Lisa_A_Alves. I'm also on TikTok if you want to follow me there. If you're in Toronto, I'm producing a workshop during the Summer Works Festival. It's a reading called I, Caesar, and it's pretty good. It's not my work, but it's a work by a Canadian playwright, and I think it's hecka good, and it's free. So follow me on Instagram for more of those details, and I'll see you on the next movie marathon. Peace.
Well, thank you for having me again, Matt. I'm Sam. You can find me on Instagram at Disney_Sam728. If you want to watch some of my old YouTube videos, you can find me on YouTube at Dish Upon a Star. I was doing Disney food content, so making food from movies, from parks, inspired by characters. Lots of good stuff on there. I really recommend you check out my Hocus Pocus Salem tour video. That's probably my most favorite video I've ever done. But yeah, please follow me on Instagram, Disney_Sam728. You can find me on TikTok at Big Blonde Thesaurus. Oh no, sorry. It's Funeral_Moss on TikTok. So yeah, follow me there. And, I post a lot of fun, weird stuff. So thanks again, guys.
Thanks, Sam.
Hello. Well, I was really close to the camera. Hi. So I'm Jeanette. You can find me here on Teacup for One. My suggestion for next month is 80s month. That way we can do Neverending Story. So that's my push, voting for that. And then you can find me on We Like Theme Parks podcast. We took a little break this past week, so we won't have a episode this week, but you can find us next week. And yeah, you can find me at TinkerJ787 on Instagram and just see what I'm doing there. You know, good to see you. So I'll see you next week.
Bye. And of course, this is my channel. Thank you for joining us for the Jim Henson movie marathon. It was a delight and a pleasure, as always. Stay tuned on the channel. I will have a regular video out eventually. I've been writing it for a month. Yeah, it's going to be really long. You'll know it when it shows up. But until then, thank you for watching. Thank you for the support. See you whenever we see you. My name is Matt, 2 degrees, Teacup for One. Teacup out. How do you end this?